Good evening and welcome to Curtain Call with WAG, where Wyndham Actors Guild has special workshops and sessions on great topics and fun and exciting things related to the theater. Hosted tonight by myself, Jonathan Kaplan. I have the privilege of being the current president of Wyndham Actors Guild here in Wyndham, New Hampshire. Tonight we'll be doing a retrospective on the very first show in honor of our 10-year anniversary. This show was produced in January of 2011 when a fledgling WAG group had pulled together a band of actors of all ages to put on a show called WIndham on Broadway. And tonight, including myself, there are four of us who will reminisce and share some great memories, some fun times, some silliness that happened behind the scenes, and hopefully put a smile on your face as we look back on WIndham on Broadway, January 2011. And now I'll show you what it looked like on stage the night of our first performance. There is the cast of Wyndham on Broadway, January 2011. And I'm going to turn it over to Angela to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Angela Sansgrant. I was one of the original board members, actually for a couple of years. And I was thrilled that we had a theater group within Wyndham again after 4 years. And I honestly had several roles, I think, in the show. There was lots going on between costuming and filling in for different people who last minute couldn't do things, trying to dance. Sometimes I have two left feet.
Don't we all?
Trying to wrangle certain people to stay on stage. It was a lot of fun. It was great. I was glad that we opened with a variety show. Yeah, I just loved it. I don't know what else to say, John.
No, we'll dive into some more details in a minute, but let's hear from Kat.
Hi, I'm Kat. I was in the play. I was enough years ago that I remember dancing and singing, and I was definitely on the stage. And I don't think I was a main person in it, so I had to sing choir. I was in the chorus. I know I was in the Little Mermaid scene. I remember Jackie going by with her skates on in the background.
In the mermaid costume, right?
Huh?
She was in the mermaid costume, right?
Oh. No, like in a diner or something. I remember it being lots of fun. A lot of kids in that show. Sorry, this is Ellie.
Who was not in the show with us.
Who's not in the show with us, that's correct. But I remember helping out a little bit backstage, and it was nice to be in a production again with so many people, and it was a lot of fun.
Great. Well, we're glad you're here with us again tonight. John, tell us a little bit about your experience.
Sure. Hey guys, I'm Jonathan Yorty. I was assistant music director 10 years ago for this show. I enjoyed working in my hometown and getting to know some of the people in my hometown that I wouldn't have had a chance to know. I was privileged enough to work on a couple of other Wyndham Actors Guild shows. One was a straight play, and I also worked with the Charlie Brown show. And it's just a pleasure to be here tonight.
Awesome. We'll share some fun memories. I want to talk about the first show with a new group. Here we are 10 years later, and the group's done 25, 30 shows, and it's been a big success and has been a staple in the community. But at that time, as Angela mentioned, it had been 4 years since there'd been a group in town, since any show had been done. And we really felt a commitment to try to bring theater back to Wyndham. And so I want to talk a little bit about what it was like knowing that this was the start of something new. It's really kind of fun, isn't it, when you're part of a new endeavor? So who wants to tell us a little bit about that?
Actually, it was a little nerve-wracking in the beginning because it had been 4 years. a lot of the people I did not know. Some of them I did from WPA, which was very comforting to have, people that you knew. There was so much talent, which was frightening. I get intimidated very easily. But once it became, once we went it was underway, I should say, everyone it was like a big family. It didn't matter if someone had been doing theater for 20 years or someone had just joined us. It was very welcoming. It was very comfortable. Just watching the transition of kids that had never done this just blossom on stage and get bitten by the bug, which was, it happened for a few people. It was just really nice.
Yeah.
Well, I can say I grew up basically in the old group.
The old group, by the way, was WPA Wyndham Performing Arts, right?
Yes, Wyndham Performing Arts. I basically grew up on the stage and behind stage. And during those 4 years where there wasn't anything, I was lucky enough to be in high school, I think, by that point. So I was able to do theater through that, but it never really felt the same. And then when we were able to get WAG up and going, I was able to kind of have like that theater family again. And that was really nice, outside of the high school cliques and all the infighting that you have in that time period of your life. WAG was a group that like everyone was there because they wanted to be in theater and they wanted to do this project. And it was just really nice to be around like-minded people who had the same drive to be there.
Yeah, you immediately felt that sense of community come
Yes.
together from that.
And
I know. And like, go ahead. Sorry.
It's nice to have adults who both were new and old hats at it. So as like kind of still a young adult, you could look at them and kind of be like, well, that person's been doing it for years, and it's great to look up to them. But this adult doesn't know what they're doing either. And it's okay. You're an adult who doesn't know what they're doing. It's okay if you're a kid who doesn't know what they're doing.
Right.
And nice to see the whole range of skills and experience so everyone can kind of grow together.
Yeah, and I want to stay on that point for a minute about the mix of skills and the mix of people that we had. It was one of the biggest casts WAG has ever had, actually. Started out really ambitious in that regard. And a lot of it really benefited from the mix of kids and adults together, the full range of ages. I think we went, our tagline is from whether you're 8 to 88. And at the time, we had almost that full age range right there in the first show. And you guys, were representative of a family that was part of it within our bigger family. And you weren't the only family that was part of it. But how was that special for you guys to be able to do that together? I know you've done some other shows with your family too, but how does that part play into it?
I don't know what it's like not to do theater with my daughter. To be honest with you. She's even pulled me out of my shell to do some stuff with another group, but that hasn't happened in a while. But I love it. I think it brings us closer. I was blessed to be able to do it with Becca, with Wyndham Performing Arts, and
The Sound of Music. The
Sound of Music, Jungle Book. She was in South Pacific with me. Yep. So there were several shows, but Kat at that time was a little on the younger side, and we weren't doing. Well, she was in the children's productions, but not the adult shows. So this gave us time together because it was always me and Becca, and Kat, and then this was just Kat and myself. So it was great. I think it brought us closer.
I think
maybe.
So. I liked it.
Yeah. It was a time in your lives when that opportunity was there.
Yeah, exactly. And in the productions after that, if one of us was on the stage, but not the other, there's always roles that you could do backstage, so that you could still be part of the production, even if you weren't on the stage. And I always liked that like if you still wanted to be part of the group, there's always room for you, and there is always room for you somewhere if you're willing to do whatever it takes to be in the production. Like I did tickets, I sold concessions.
Yep.
I think I ushered once. Like it's, just because you're on the stage doesn't mean you can't be part of the theater world.
Yeah. And the community has grown to the point where, those kids productions for WAG now are main stage shows. And in 2019, we had the production of Into the Woods, where you're selling 250 tickets per show, and the parents and the other adults really had to step up and building this beautiful set and running concessions and sound and everything else. So it was a major production, and even the kids shows have taken on a new dimension. I know, John, you mentioned that you were involved in one of the earlier kids productions for WAG, and that was not a main stage show yet, but tell us about.
No, that was very much a black box show.
Yes, and that's how the kids show started. But we started right off with the main stage show with WIndham on Broadway, and tell us what it was like to be helping to manage the music direction with 40 plus people, and half of them being kids at the time, new group.
It was interesting. It taught me a lot as a musician. It taught me a lot about how I work with people. I think we were very lucky to have a lot of people that really wanted to be there and really wanted to learn the music. There were rehearsals and nights where it didn't go so well. And then there were nights where everything just, yeah. There might have been a few rehearsals I walked out of for a few minutes. But there were also nights where everything just clicked, and the coolest feeling is to make music with other people. And to know that I was a part of that from the ground floor was a pretty amazing thing. It was truly an honor to be part of it.
That's awesome. Well, I'd like to jump into my favorite part. It's thinking back on something that made you laugh, or a moment in the show, whether it was an onstage moment or something that happened backstage that was something that's funny that sticks with you even 10 years later. And I may just share one of those myself at the end, but I'd like to ask you guys to go first on that.
Oh, I got a bunch.
Can you share more than one?
I would say probably my favorite memory was doing the Little Mermaid scene with Jackie Coffin and the whole cast we had in that number. We in one of the rehearsals, I don't know how it happened, but we changed the lyrics to something that's not quite as safe for work. And it still sticks with me. And honestly, Jackie and I will text once in a while just these lyrics, and we'll both burst out laughing. That was probably my favorite fun moment. I would say my other favorite moment, just in general. I don't remember what the gentleman's name was, to be honest. But it was when we did Bring Him Home. And the gentleman like I said, I don't remember his name, but the gentleman that sang that just had such a beautiful voice.
Yes.
And I remember sitting there playing that, almost coming to tears myself. And it felt like you were all part of this moment. And I remember every show when he ended that song, it was just, you could have heard a pin drop in the entire auditorium. And having a moment like that with an audience and with a cast and with a singer is pretty special.
That's awesome. Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Well, I have a couple also.
Yeah.
I will never forget. I'm doing a big dance number. It was from Pippin, and Laurie Georgie was next to me, and all of a sudden I hear, "Where the hell is she going?" And it was Mary. She didn't like the dance steps, and she walked off stage. Laurie and I were trying not to crack up because it was just Mary.
Who's going to stop her?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Who's going to stop her?
Was this opening night?
Yes, it was. Oh my God, we almost lost it on stage because she's like, "I'm done with this," and off she goes.
The show must go on.
Exactly. Oh my Lord. And then the most memorable for me is when I got to do 2 songs with John LeBlanc, because I am a character actress and I'm usually chorus, which is fine. But to be able to sing with John, that almost brought me to tears. And Sunrise Sunset is one of my favorites. It just really,
So touching.
it was really touching. And yeah, it just.
And we still call him your stage husband.
Yes, we still call John my stage husband. So,
You know, I have to say that was a really a high point for a lot of us. It was very emotional. We were all on stage together, and it was, you know, we were at the beginning of something with that show, with that group at that time, but it made you think about, here we are 10 years later, looking back on it already, and Sunrise Sunset, you know, tells that kind of story, how quickly those things happen, go by us.
then I got pulled into Beauty and the Beast.
I had a fun moment on stage when we were singing a song from Anything Goes. And there are 3 of us up on stage singing, having a great time. It's, you know, Anything Goes is a fun show. It's a comedy show. It's a character-driven show. And we're all just playing around, and all of a sudden we forgot the lyrics. All of us. We didn't know whose turn it was. And and there's a video of this somewhere, which I'll probably insert if I can find it, where we're all just staring at each other, and the music and John and the musicians are still playing. And I mean, it goes on. It seems interminable. I mean, it was probably 6, 7, 10 seconds, but that's a pretty long time. We're in the middle of a musical staring at each other.
Remember that.
Music vamping, and we're just like, and like the next night we're writing our lyrics on our hands and everything. It was, woo.
I actually remember looking at Michelle and looking at John Kerry and being like, what? Let's just keep playing this same chord.
They're gonna have to figure this out. And that's the beauty of live theater. You just have to figure it out.
Well, and when you kicked back in, it was like the next verse, and all of a sudden we're like scrambling for the pages.
Right. Right. Yeah. So that song was Friendship, and if you want to get yourself lost in a group of 3, that was a shit song to do it. All right. And how about you, Kat? Anything maybe backstage, something funny that happened backstage or on stage, or?
I was 16 at the time.
Oh boy.
Decade ago. I'm pretty sure I had a crush on half the cast. I was quite terrified of the other half. I do remember, that's sort of a funny story. One of the things that I actually remember from that time period, I think we were doing the everyone else was doing the Beauty and the Beast Bonjour song, which I wasn't in, but Mom was. So I was sitting in the room, and whoever sang was doing the bell roll, which I think was Becca.
Yeah, Becca.
Mm-hmm.
She was late or sick, so someone had to step in to sing her part. And since everyone already had their part, I think Jonathan was like, "Oh yeah, you come up. You're here. You obviously can sing. So stand up in front of people as a very awkward teenager and he sing this, solo line to a song you probably love and would hate to ruin in front of a group of people who you have to see the next day." And I was like, yeah, okay. Got out there. I was at the point where I wanted to sing high, but I was still very much an alto, like a low alto. And the key was a little high. And I sang it. I think my face was so red. It could have been a stop sign. And I sat back down. I remember being very angry at Jonathan. How dare he do this to me? And I'm sure no one else remembers it. I'm sure everyone else oh yeah, that was fine. I'm sure no one thought it was horrible. I thought, now as an adult, I'm like, I probably wouldn't give a crap if a teenager sang for 2 lines of an opening song, hurry up, let's get to the main event. but that was one of the traumatizing, I should say, parts.
We were trying to go for fun, and Kat comes up with traumatizing.
You're laughing though, so it's my trauma is fun for other people, and that's why I'm in theater.
That's right. Yes, you're on your way to live performances for sure.
Yeah,
with
there
that.
you go.
I
So-
remember working on "Do You Love Me" with Angela and John LeBlanc, and there was one night where one of you guys couldn't make it, and nobody was around. So I just kind of started just speaking the lyrics in like a satirical sort of way. So it'd be like, "Do you love me? Yes, I do. Do you love me?" And it just like went on for this the whole night.
And the problem is that when she goes and performs it on stage, she's remembering you having done that.
Oh
I
God.
might have made a mistake in a show like that once.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
So, looking back, it's been 10 years. How do you think the show affected your further pursuits of the performing arts? What do you tie back to that show as sort of fond memories when you're in, another show now? What resonates still 10 years later?
The camaraderie, the feeling of being a family unit. I don't really audition outside of the group because I feel other groups don't have that. I went and auditioned with one particular group, and I walked in and I could just feel the tension. They weren't welcoming. Another group that I have done, they're a smaller group, they're very welcoming. But as WAG just basically has open arms for anybody. That it doesn't matter if you've had theater or you, as I said, you've been doing it for 20 years. Everybody's welcome. People help each other. I don't know. And when
Yeah.
we did the show, that first show was just so welcoming to everybody. Because I was very nervous about doing theater with another group outside of WPA.
Yeah.
I just fell in love with everybody, and I
Yeah.
just wanted to do more. I was so excited about it,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah, no, I agree. It just felt comfortable. It felt like the right group of people, and you could almost sense that this was something that was going to live on and last beyond the first show, the first year.
right.
And I think it's sort of important for us to take a look back and remember why we felt that way at the time and how it still feels that way. And we just reviewed our mission statement a few months back, and being inclusive and being welcoming and respect for everyone, all those things, it's right there in our mission statement. And I think it was an unwritten rule, even at that point, that that's how we were going to operate.
Right.
How about you, John? Music really
For me,
continued for you.
yeah. Like I've said before, getting in on the ground level, it was a lot of fun. I had done a couple of shows in New Hampshire at that point, mostly with my high school, and then I went off to college and I came back. But that kind of springboarded me into music direction as well. And I've done a few shows since then with Wyndham Actors Guild. I've done a few in New Hampshire separate from Wyndham Actors Guild. And music has always been a part of my life. And I'm lucky enough now that I still have my binder full of music from Wyndham on Broadway. And actually, yesterday, after you had mentioned this meeting, I took it into work with me. I sell Steinway pianos, and I actually started playing through some of the music and remembering some of the memories. But it kind of springboarded me into music direction and keeping music in my life in a fun way. A lot of what I do musically is very intense, and you can't miss anything. And not that you can miss anything in music theater, not at all. But that show that we had was just so much fun. And we had so many laughs, and I still keep in touch with some of the people from that show. Jackie Coffin, who is our choreographer, I still talk to her to this day. We haven't seen each other in a long time, but we shoot text messages back and forth. And I feel like it's a tie to my hometown that I'm very lucky and very blessed to have. I don't get up to Wyndham quite as much anymore. I live closer to Boston now. But I will always have that memory of inaugurating something in Wyndham that not many people had the chance to, and being a part of that was a lot of fun. And I had nothing to do with WPA. I realize now that I saw the South Pacific show, didn't realize it was them. The only reason I know it was South Pacific is because I heard Liana Bissett and Nick Letizio sing in that
Yes.
when we were kids. And Emily Hutchings was part of all of that. The Hutchings family was a big part of that.
That's right.
But yeah, just keeping ties with my hometown and where I grew up and where I'm proud to be from.
And I think that's a really important point. And all along, Wyndham Actors Guild has been part of the Wyndham community and has partnered with the local senior center and the library and the schools. And that very first show was in what was then the new high school. Still pretty new.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think we all still call it the new high school.
Yeah. And it's at least 10 years old. We know that. But it was a special group and a special time. And I guess I would just like to close thinking about the community aspect, which John, you just mentioned, and how important it is for theater to have this outlet, and how community theater, to Angela's point, is so important because it's meant to be inclusive. It's meant to be for the community. It's not meant to be high pressure, high stakes, high stress. It's not professional productions, although we hope we can put a good product out there that people will enjoy. We're not trying to, well, most of us anyway, aren't trying to go to Broadway afterwards, right? So we're trying to have a good time for ourselves and for our audience. And I just wanted to sort of see how you reflect on that and how important that is for us to have that in our town and in the town that you're in, whatever it is.
I guess I'll talk.
Go for it.
I think that having theater in Wyndham is an extremely important thing. Wyndham supports the arts so much, and the kids and the adults in Wyndham are so lucky that the town will support it. I have lived in places where the arts are not appreciated at all, and you go and you try and put together a show, and you get maybe 10 people to come out the first night and 5 the second night, because nobody cares. But Wyndham is just a special place, and having the ties to the community is so big. And I just think it's really, really important for the town to get a taste of what real theater can be, and what community theater can be. And like you said, it's not super high stakes. You can still have a lot of fun, and you put on a good product and you put on a good show and people enjoy it. But it's Wyndham is a good place to have a theater program, I guess is what
I think it was really important for us to do that and to have that time. And the fact that we started out of the gate with kids and adults was a sign that we were going to try to make that, whatever formula we used to do that there would always be kids opportunities every year as well as opportunities for adults.
Right.
I was there, at the board meetings because she was there at the board meetings in the very beginning. I have to say, I wasn't like an official board member. I felt like, even though I was a kid at the time, still like valued, I guess. If I brought an idea to the table, it wasn't like sweet little thing, like go read your book somewhere. Like, this is adult time. I did feel like respected as someone who's done theater, and my ideas were at least, if not used, were honestly considered. And I feel like probably a lot of the kids who are in it now still feel that way, that, while it's the adults driving the boat, at least the kids can look at the map every now and then.
Right.
It's not just because you're a kid, you don't know anything about the theater, or just because you're a kid, you don't know you want to continue in the theater and when you're an adult. And I think that's really important when you're trying to have a theater group that's really focused on the community, because to keep the group going, you kind of have to get the new blood in.
Right.
And to keep coming back is, I think that's what WAG is really good at, is kind of making the kids want to come back because it doesn't feel like an obligation. It's fun to go to to be in the group, and it's fun to interact with everyone and kind of not be one of the adults, but not be, put down as a kid. It's a nice middle ground to kind of test yourself out in, which I always thought the theater was a great place for kids to do that.
Yeah. No, I agree. Community theater has given a lot of the kids the confidence and the opportunity to take on leadership roles, lead roles as performers, but also in other ways. And it's unique that it's one of the unique opportunities where you can be any age and participate together as a group. And frankly, if you're an athlete and you're on a team throughout your high school days, you have it that way. A lot of kids who are not on a team don't have it in other ways. The arts provide that team feel, that group cohesion, that sense of belonging, and that's one of the reasons I felt it was so important that we got back to it. When Wyndham Performing Arts left us, that was tough. And I personally had, my kids were born a few months later, and I was a little bit busy for a while and distracted. But the arts were still there for me in my head and in my heart. And I know a lot of people felt the same way. And when this group came along, it was important to embrace it and to support it for the next generation as well as for ourselves. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to share your thoughts tonight and to be part of the group in an ongoing way and to stay connected to us.